We've already spent over $5 million on the Legasea Aquarium. And of course, when we started this project, we had no idea we were going to be spending this kind of money. Doing things like the stingray tank is absolutely amazing. When we started to kind of price out how much exhibits cost, we thought, all right, well, that doesn't seem that bad. That might be like $150,000. We started to add up from there. But the truth is, it was way more money than that, unfortunately. Big exhibits like this, especially with the coral theme and stuff like that, literally were costing $250,000 plus per exhibit. But you know what? You want to make absolutely incredible exhibits. I tell you what, when the stingray tank is up and running, it's going to blow people away. And one of the things that makes the stingray tank kind of expensive is all that coral that we put on. If you remember, we got these coral inserts. They were $20,000 a piece, but it was a bargain because they're actually worth a lot more money than this. And this particular one's going to go in that enclosure over there. But the theming alone is so expensive. You just can't believe how much the coral and the theming and the little things that are going to make the place look absolutely incredible. But you don't really think about it when you're adding up the budget. You're looking at probably like $350,000 just in coral type of inserts. And you guys might remember, these were really the first tanks that we brought in. This 40-foot wall, bullnose tank. I absolutely love it to death. I can't wait to get all this off, clean it up, get fish in there. It's going to be so beautiful. But you know, a lot of the enclosures we bought were like this, right? So you guys have seen Ahmed's team and Felipe's team build these enclosures, but the truth is the majority of the fish side of things are actually just acrylic. And some are going to be delivered here in the next couple weeks, like the shark tank. And this acrylic is expensive. I mean, these tanks alone were a couple $100,000. All in all, I mean, it just goes crazy when you start adding up this tank, that tank, this tank, that tank. I mean, that's where millions and millions of dollars are spent on the aquarium.
But tanks, enclosures, and animals are not the only things we have to spend money on. One of the big expenses we have is the outside of this building. We've already spent $700,000 on just the outside. And we're not even done yet. We still need our sign and our logo. Clearly, the bridges aren't done yet, just started. A lot of other little things that you don't even think about that are there, like lighting and stuff like that. It's just insane where all this money goes, more than what you would even see. So Aquascape was awesome enough to donate this awesome front pond for us, which we appreciate so much. But it's not exactly finished yet. We still have to finish landscaping and making it beautiful, and that's not something we can do till spring. That's just another cost that's going to come up. But all of these things are super important because it's not just the inside that matters. The outside matters a lot. We want all these people that are driving by or walking by to see this awesome, beautiful building and say, hey, I gotta go and see what that is.
Now the place is slowly getting cleaned up. There's certain areas that are kind of messy. This is actually where the shark tank is going to go. I spoke about the shark tank earlier. Actually had to get made in Italy, get shipped to Indiana, get kind of assembled in Indiana, and is coming here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, something like that, to get installed here. But that tank alone, I mean, it's massive, 25 foot. It's going to be 10 foot tall. Acrylic viewing panel, absolutely incredible. That tank alone is close to $500,000. And of course, this is the life support just for the shark tank alone. Life support is so expensive. I mean, you figure that is the bones of the whole operation. If you're doing a fish gallery and you don't have good filtration, the water quality is not going to be that good. It's going to get cloudy. It's going to look terrible. I mean, the filtration alone in the entire place is about $1 million. Thankfully, Steve Basham, my partner on this, he's covering that part of it, so I don't have to come out of pocket for the filtration, and he's got the most incredible company in the world when it comes to filtration. So not only does it save me $1 million to have to put out for that, taking on him as a partner, but also the fact is we have an incredible quality Bashy Aquatics.
So the contractors just finished putting up the drywall in the ceiling right here, which is above the gift shop, and they're still working on all the walls throughout the aquarium. Well, that is going to cost us $100,000 in drywall. Like, seriously, it's something you have to do, right? We're trying to create the feeling, and we didn't want it to just be an open warehouse. We have to make the maze of where you're going to walk through and have the finished areas. These are all things that matter a lot. So speaking of drywall, we've got a lot of drywall here that is primed and ready for paint, but we're not ready for paint. We have to actually make a lot of decisions of what color goes on what walls and all of that. So we have to make decisions of what colors we want where. And they also, depending on the exhibits, have to do different things versus just plain walls. So Steve and I are meeting and have to make all of these decisions and then relay it to the contractors. Until we get all that, we really don't even know how much the paint is going to cost.
While everyone's talking about how much we've been spending, I've been spending a ton of my time here at the aquarium house taking care of fish. So as you can see, we have a ton of fish in here. We have probably about 50 to 60 koi. Most of them are going to be going over to the Legasea once we open, which I'm really excited about. But right now, since they're here, I do have to work on this pretty much every day just to make sure that, you know, the tank parameters are safe for the fish and making sure that it stays nice and clean, especially for the renters that come in. We want to make sure that that experience that they have, it's the, you know, same every time, and, you know, they're walking up and seeing a pristine tank, healthy fish.
Yeah, and you don't want it smelling like fish throughout the whole house, which is a challenge with the fish house.
Exactly. Whenever you have a bunch of fish, it can smell like fish. So that's one of the biggest things. You know, really taking care of fish, the biggest thing is really taking care of the water. Most of the rest follows after that. And so if you take care of the water, it can reduce that smell, but there still can be kind of somewhat of like a aquatic animal smells. So I try to make sure that whenever people are walking in, that they get to see the fish before they smell the fish. So before we start taking care of the water, let's actually feed these guys because it's super fun. It's my favorite thing in the world to do.
Oh my God, it's chaotic.
And of course, we're on the Reptarium side of things. You know, this costs a ton of money as well. As a matter of fact, the first shipments of Universal Rock are coming in about a week and a half or so it's going to be really cool to see what Stuart has brewing up because he's been doing some amazing stuff. In fact, tomorrow, I think Stuart's sending us up some video of what's been going on down there, so that's going to be amazing. Now, this actually costs about $500,000 just for cages in the Reptarium side of things. Now, the other thing you got to remember, right, we're throwing out all these numbers, but the animals themselves that we're bringing over from the Reptarium, we've already covered that, so we're not including that money we already spent. So bringing those animals from the Reptarium saved us about $1 million as well. But we weren't so lucky with fish. Obviously, we didn't have a ton of fish just laying around. So we had to buy all our fish. And trust me, fish are not cheap, especially when you're getting really cool stuff. So we got the cool koi fish that we got from Ohio Fish Rescue. Our predator fish tank is getting filled up by Ohio Fish Rescue. And then we've been kind of scouring the whole country for fish for marine and stuff like that. We're talking about $400,000 or so just in livestock when it comes to the marine side and the fish side.
So is there any challenges with feeding this many koi fish?
Yes, one of the
besides getting splashed.
One of the biggest challenges is making sure that everyone's eating.
Right.
And that can be quite a challenge just because it's a whole community of fish. So one of the biggest things that I do is basically mark each fish based on their markings, and then I get to kind of tally it from there. Like, okay, these ones ate, these ones ate. Especially with having fish that are different sizes, that's a big thing. Obviously, it's really easy for me to see some of these big fish eating, but some of the smaller ones in here, that's gonna obviously be more of a challenge. So I have all those guys documented, and so every time I feed, I watch each of those ones individually, making sure that they at least get a few pieces of food. Almost everything with any diets, they're based on body weight. Guys, enough of fun. Now it's time to get to work. So the first thing that I do is I always check on the filtration. I check on the pressure on the sand filter. That tells me a ton of stuff about the filtration system in general. It's going to tell me a lot about how the system is running, if I need a backwash, or if there is any type of issue. If you have low pressure on the sand filter, it could be a pump issue. High pressure, it could just be kind of like a dirty sand filter.
How we always try
to. We look great, so that's really nice. I'm going to do a little bit of a water change just because I like to do one that's regular, but I'm not having to do it to technically backwash the sand filter. So that's definitely a good look. So next, I always check on the sumps, try to keep them clean. One of the things that I like to do is kind of vacuum out some of these areas just to make sure keeping that detritus low. So you always want to keep everything as clean as possible, not so clean that you don't have nitrogen bacteria, but clean enough that you don't have to worry about other stuff. Yeah, it's just like little stuff like right here, pellets and poop that build up. And I like to do this before I do the backwash because I like to clean my sand filter with clean water rather than try to clean it with dirty water.
So I'm sure you guys have been watching the vlog and you see we started working on the floor. So right now we just have some of the back of the house ones ready. These guys are going to be different looking than what you will see out in the public. I really like the way these look, but what we do outside where you're going to see is going to blow your minds because every section is going to be a different design, a different color, all kinds of crazy stuff going on. Now this just got started. We haven't even finished what we're doing, and the price right now is $90,000. We don't even have it done yet, and it's $90,000. God help me. So I know we're talking about paint, and that was painting on the drywall wall. Right here is exterior wall, not included in that. This is something separate, which is pretty much done now. This alone is like 65 grand, not even including all the ones that you're gonna see, because you're not even gonna see this. Only we see this, or it's gonna be hidden behind the cages, but it still costs $65,000.
Oh!
These. You wanna play?
Yeah, dude, I'm shaking right there.
How did they lose?
They're Tesla.
Oh.
These are expensive. We
Are
can
they
pay for the
both
parking lot lines
the
now.
same?
Yeah. What happened?
This one hit something.
Yeah, but
I bet you I could sell these on Facebook Marketplace. So another thing that I think you guys saw, we painted the parking lot line. Something that needs to be done, right? Because people have to know where to park. Looks great, love it, but $5,000 is how much that costs. I'm not gonna lie, that's why across the street at the original Reptarium, I painted the handicap lines myself. This job was way more than I could do So you got to do what you got to do.
And of course there's the mammals, right? So we had to build out all the mammal rooms, which are far from done right now. But the theming on them, the glass front, all that type of stuff is going to cost a lot of money. And then the actual animals themselves. Lilo, Stitch, Sid, of course Javi and Brillo. Those are animals that we wanted to have. We had to do it. So we definitely spent about $100,000 on mammals, and then probably another $150,000, $200,000 on fixturing out these exhibits here so that they look absolutely incredible. And of course you got to think about things like electrical, right? Because it's so important. Let's say it's the middle of January and there's a snowstorm and the power goes out. That would be a big problem. This is actually what they call an automatic transfer switch. It is absolutely ginormous, by the way. This actually takes the power that's coming from the city when it's out. It transfers over to the generator set. Generator set is coming next week. The pad is being poured. It was $150,000 for the transfer switch, the kill switch, and the generator set. But that was money we had to spend.
First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this started. We want to rinse it. That way you can kind of agitate the media. One thing with this is that you can never turn this handle while the pump is on. It could literally actually explode. So it's a
thank you for letting us know.
Yeah, very important things. Never do that. Usually it doesn't explode. Usually it just messes with the manway cover. You're not usually gonna actually see it explode, but it is a risk. Usually what it's gonna do is actually cause an issue with the multi-port valve. So this thing, even though it kind of looks a little rudimentary, is extremely important. There's a gasket in here that if we were to mess that up, you could have like sand or, you know, particles from your sand filter actually make it back into the tank. You definitely always want to make sure you take as good of care of this as possible because it really does influence everything that's going to happen without your whole filtration. So now that I rinsed this a couple times, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it to backwash. And so that's going to cause all the water that normally is running through the sand filter and then back to the tank. It's going to actually cause it to go the opposite way, and then it's going to go out through the waste valve. So that allows us to rinse all of this media, get all of any detritus or gunk out of it, and then be able to then add new water and have a nice clean sand. So we're basically going to do this until we see this water be completely clear. Plug it in, you'll be able to see that it does get a little cloudy. And you can also see right here that now that media is just kind of being tumbled through that water. So at first, you know, all that media was right here at the top. So we can see that that's working. You can see that this is a little bit cloudy. So we are getting the right pressure to backwash this. The only other thing that we have to watch while we're doing this is our sump pump over there to make sure that we don't overfill that, because we do have a pump taking all the water out, but because this is such a big pump compared to that one, sometimes this is a little faster. So we do always have to watch that to make sure I don't cause a giant flood. But if I do, we do have pig products. So now I just have to wait for it to fill up to the water level that we want it to be at, and yeah, it's pretty much done.
And I know $5 million plus is a ton of money. I never expected to spend anything like that. We're having our dreams come true here at the Legacy, and you've got to spend the money to make it right. And so I did. And by the way, thank you guys, because a lot of you guys helped facilitate this as well. Without you, we couldn't have done this. I'm really happy with where we're at with things. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Is it scary? Yes, of course it is. Man, is it going to be so worth it when we're standing here greeting you guys at the front door during opening weekend.
Hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, there's a playlist that you can watch all kinds of videos. You can also hit that subscription button. It would mean a lot to me. Also, hit that like button while you're down there. Have a wonderful day, Reptile Army. Remember, be kind to someone, and I promise I'll see you in the next one.